Last year, many of you know that we went on the road to speak out against the Paul Ryan budget because we stood with our bishops' conference where our bishops said that the Ryan budget failed a basic moral test because it harmed people in poverty while giving tax cuts to the wealthy. And we said, we at Network, we're a 40-year-old organization. Actually, we're 41 now. Don't we look good for 41? We're a 41-year-old organization. And we had been working on Capitol Hill against the Ryan budget for years, 2 years, and weren't getting any traction. And when we got a little notoriety because of a document from the Vatican that named our little organization, what we said was, it's not about us, it's about our mission. And in prayer, what came to me was, I knew we had too small of an imagination to respond to this moment. And what came to me was, ask for help. And so first I asked the Catholics for help, and they were so upset and so mad and so, they were impossible. No Catholics in this crowd could understand that, I'm sure. But what happened then was that it came to me to ask the secular community. And May 14th, we came together in our office. And a sign of the Holy Spirit for me is no one remembers who first said road trip. But by the end of an hour-and-a-half meeting, we were going on a wrapped bus, and I didn't know what a wrapped bus was. I mean, that's a wrapped bus. It's glorious. And we were going out against the Ryan budget, and we were going to lift up the works of our sisters. And it was an amazing trip. This year, with immigration reform this close to being a reality, we said, we could not miss this opportunity to lift up the fact that immigration reform is for the 100%. It is for all of us. And so we have had this amazing trip. We just started a week ago tonight in Hartford, Connecticut, and have come down the East Coast. But if you watch where our bus is going, I had the opportunity to show the president where our bus is going, and he said to me, that evidences some strategery, I believe. So the strategy of where we're going really is to stand with the bold Republicans who have been a part of the design of this plan, to affirm them for their pioneering, risky work, and then to encourage other Republicans, like two that I could think of from the great state of Alabama, to stand with them and support comprehensive immigration reform. And it is the only way forward. We know that it is, as people of faith, we know it is the moral choice to welcome the stranger. In the Christian scriptures, that's what Jesus says. But you know what? In all the scriptures, it is taught. It is how you welcome the stranger that you will be measured. It is not some academic exercise. The other thing is, it's good for the economy. So even if you're not a person of faith, you'd think just the economics would convince a few Republicans I know that it's a good idea. And even the Wall Street Journal this morning had a editorial saying that it's good for our country because it's going to help our entitlement program. Now, self-interest ought to get at least a vote for this immigration reform. And finally, it's good faith, it's good economics, but it's good for our community and good for our families. We know these folks in our country are part of our parishes, are part of our churches, are part of our schools. And we have met so many amazing people along the way where our nation would be so much better if they can come out of the shadows and we can end the discrimination that's going on. I have to say personally, and this is something I've never said anyplace else on this trip all week, because what just happened to me down in Birmingham, downtown Birmingham, being at the park, I realized that a big reason I entered my religious community is because of what happened there. I was a young person watching on the television, and I so admired the courage of kids. And I said, I want to do that too. I want to give my life so that other people could have equality, justice, the opportunity for a good life. So I have to tell you, I was in tears down there because it all came flooding back. You all have set an example for the rest of us. I just hope that we can be faithful and that together we can lift up our voices to really make justice come. Please, let it be our prayer, let it be our hope, let it be our action. Thank you so much for this warm welcome.
thank you, Sister, for your work for the most vulnerable among us, and really the work for all of us. And I would ask you to add one modifier: just and comprehensive immigration reform.
Amen.
So, Sister Mary Ellen, please.
Hello. I'm so happy to be here. Part of the reason I get to speak to you tonight is because I have sisters in the audience here, the Daughters of Charity. And as Bishop Foley said, you have had sisters here for hundreds of years, and my congregation is one of those congregations. And we're happy to be here in Alabama, in Mobile, as well as Birmingham. So thank you. I was asked also to speak tonight a little bit about our trip, where we've come from, and the history which brought us to this and how it repeats itself. We look at our immigration laws, and we can see from the very beginning, from the very outset, in 1790, the First Naturalization Act allowed everyone to become citizens as long as you are white. It discounted Asians, it discounted American Indians, and it certainly didn't include the African Americans. Later, as we move on, people began to see the injustices of that, but then the Irish had to come over, my people. In the 1850s, they came. But they said, we can't take the Irish, we can't take the economy. Our jobs we don't have enough jobs, there's not enough room, there's not enough. So when you saw help wanted signs, the Irish were met with help wanted, Irish need not apply. Another instance of fear and racism just building into our laws. Later on in that century, we saw the Japanese and the Asian face the same discrimination. We in fact made agreements with Japan and China that we wouldn't take their people because our economy couldn't handle it. Our jobs weren't enough. And yet they came, and we survived, and we became more rich. And this repeated itself in the 1930s, in the 50s, and all the way until the civil rights, where they looked at our laws and they said, you know what? Our immigration law is even a civil rights violation. And I'm reminded as I sit here that Martin Luther King said to us, our generation will not be recalled for the bad acts of some bad people, but for the appalling silence of the good people. And that's why we ride. We've come down from Connecticut and we've run into people who tell us stories, much like we've heard before the 1960s. Mothers are being torn from their crying children. They're getting deported after they were hit by a car. Aunt Helena that we met told us a story. She got hit by a car, rear-ended. Everyone came concerned because she was a mother with kids. Then they found out she was undocumented. It didn't matter anymore. The person behind who hit her, the legality of hitting somebody didn't matter. She was here illegal, she was taken, and she's going to be deported on June 27th of this year. We heard of her children who say they talk about at school fear of deportation, fear of losing their parents. Can you imagine your children living in fear every day? Mommy and daddy might not be there. So we ride and we tell people of these injustices so that they don't repeat themselves. Right now, we have a chance. We have hope right in our grasp. There is a bill out there that's going to go to the Senate next week, and it meets a clear path to just immigration reform and a path to citizenship. It helps to reunite families. It makes provisions for guest workers, and it acknowledges that the border is safe, although there might be some interior reinforcement that needs to be done. But it is otherwise a good bill. And we need to call our senators, and we need to stand up now. This is our time, not one of sympathy. We need to act, and we need to act today and throughout the summer, because this is as close as we're going to get to getting this done. Thank you.